Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Double Kick Podcast. Double the kick, double the games, and double the friends we make along the way. I'm just one half of this podcast today, Terry Thompson, and I did not prepare a little preamble to put Dan on the spot. So I'm gonna just go ahead and introduce the immaculate, the illustrious, the new webcam. So he looks so moisturized and beautiful. Dan Hoy. Dan, how are you?
Hey, that's me. I'm super moisturized tonight.
I know we are in audio form right now, but valued listener Dan has just a whole new setup. So he's in a new room than he usually records in. He's under a new light, new webcam. So he's looking very 4K today, very,
Yeah,
very HD. You know what I'm saying?
it's a whole new world. It's amazing.
It's great. Dan, how
Um,
are you doing today, my man?
I am I am like giddy right now that we're recording on my new setup here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was just telling Terry for you listeners that I decided to take the jump and build my own PC. And it has been such a journey for what was supposed to be an hour and a half, according to the guy at the help desk. Um, Took me 24 hours to put together for my first ever PC build.
Mhm.
And I have a great screen, and I'm not just running on a rinky-dink laptop. And Terry is taking up all 20 inches of my screen.
20 inches of Terry. Yeah.
I have a little webcam attached. I got a little pop filter for my mic, so you may hear a little bit of a difference. I don't
Oh.
know. Time will tell. Depends on the digital editing and after production value.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and my desktop, my case looks really pretty, and I'm really happy with it. So, um, very excited to be recording on this.
Oh, yeah, we're all about growth and evolution here on the Double Kick Podcast, and Dan is just an absolute shining example of that here and today. And I'm super proud. And it's honestly fascinating to see. I'm very what's the word for it? I'm very
Proud, say
enchanted.
proud. Oh
Enchanted,
man, I
yeah.
was hoping for a little bit of that
I'm
that
proud of you too, Dan.
parental validation.
Nah, not today, man. I don't know nothing about that. Just kidding. I'm proud of you, son. You're doing
Oh,
great.
thank you. That means so
Absolutely.
much.
Absolutely. But tell me, I know we had a little bit of a preamble before the show, but can you kind of guide me through your building process? Like, was it more taxing than you thought it was? Just like the building process in itself? Did you kind of get dis dis what's the word for it? I'm running out of words today. Would you get agitated in the process and feel like giving up or
Yeah. I'm trying to find the best way to describe it. I was very intimidated by it,
Mhm.
as I was telling you, and the guy at the help desk. It was so daunting to have so many options to come home with, so many boxes of varying sizes,
Right.
um, and not knowing where to start. Like that was the hardest part. Um, and like they sent me a helpful video. It's called like the only PC building video you'll ever need on
Oh, cool.
YouTube. Um, and I started watching like little bits and pieces at a time, and so I started with like the easiest thing.
Mhm.
Um, which I now that I think of it, I don't even know what that was. I think it was installing the CPU, and then I went from there on. Did I get frustrated? Yes, many
Right.
times. My hands got tired because you're squeezing your fingers into very tiny spaces and trying to fit the pieces together, not forcing it, but using some power to, fit the pieces together.
And that feels like the
Um,
scariest part to me,
it's so scary.
right, how much force am I supposed to be using, and is this too
Yeah.
much?
There's one cable from the front panel. It's a USB cable that's supposed to connect to the motherboard. And I didn't watch this part of the tutorial,
Oh, no.
so I just kind of went and did it because it was pretty obvious where it needed to go.
Uh,
Um, but I really needed to force it because it was the only spot that it was going to fit.
mm,
Um, and I pushed it. I thought it was a little too hard. I didn't really hear it click.
okay.
It was like a slow push. And then I watched the tutorial after, at least that section of it.
Mhm.
And out of the 2 hours that they talked, this was the one piece they were like, be careful.
Oh.
You have to use more force, but not too much. And don't be mashing up the little pins. Um, so I went through the rest of my build thinking I just broke my computer.
Oh, man, dude.
Luckily, it works. I have both USB ports for my current microphone I'm speaking into and my headphones that I'm wearing.
Nice.
Um, so that's fine. But the more I progressed through the build, the more I was like, this is like Legos. It's like
Mhm.
putting together Legos, following a manual, many manuals,
Cool.
um, and having an amazing final product. But I didn't really like Legos growing up, Terry.
Oh, no.
Probably for this very reason.
Probably, right?
Um, but I think when I got it up and running, that first like boot up, well, they say it's like a rush, right? Because
Mhm.
you've invested so much, you've really worked at it. Um, but I found it frustrating because I had to troubleshoot and I didn't
Mhm.
know what I was supposed to do with the boot screen and configuring BIOS and stuff like that.
Right.
For a while, my screen wasn't detecting my computer.
Mhm.
And kind of jumped to conclusions and thought, I have to start all over again, right?
Oh, god, yeah. Or you miss, like,
Um,
one step along the
yeah,
thousand-step journey and gotta find
exactly.
which one it is, yeah.
That's what I thought happened. And I honestly stared at my motherboard for like 20 minutes trying to problem solve in my head. Um, and I was just like so hyper focused. I was like, I can't do anything else until this is done, right?
Mhm.
Um, Turns out the graphics cards was loose, so I just
Okay.
reinserted it, which is, and then it's fine. Computer detected display cord. So
Easy, easy.
yeah, and then it was late, and I had to go to bed, and so I left all the pieces sprawled out on my floor, and I woke up.
Classic.
Yeah, I woke up at like 8 a.m. the next morning, and I'm like, let's get back to it.
Let's get it, baby.
Yeah.
Man.
But I'm very happy with the final product. Again, it's beautiful. I got one of those keyboards, like RGB keyboards, where you can
Mm,
customize like the colors
mm.
behind on the backlight. Um,
It's got a good, like, clacky has a good clacky feel.
yeah, I think this is my first like mechanical keyboard.
Woo.
Um, the feedback is like it really pushes back at you, and I can
Mhm.
imagine playing some games where you really click into gear, and this keyboard's just on fire, right?
Nice, man.
I did type up a report today for work on it.
Mhm.
And man, I could fly on this keyboard. It's
Makes
I'm
typing,
like
like, enjoyable, right?
yeah, it's like when Harry Potter went to Diagon Alley and he got on like his broomstick. Is that where he got it? Anyway, when he was really excited that he got his first broomstick to
Yeah,
fly.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like that's what it feels like when I'm typing on this keyboard.
Oh, yeah, man. That's such a cool journey, and to have such a product to be proud of, like, afterwards makes it all worth it. Definitely,
Yeah,
I'm definitely like, when I do build my PC later on down the line, I definitely have the same worries that I think you, expounded upon during the little chat. Like, I'm super worried that I'm gonna miss, like, one step among the 1,000 and not be able to diagnose what that step is,
right.
and then just, like, I get what you mean too, that some people experience that rush when the boot up works, but to me, it'll be like, if it doesn't work, that's the worst thing in the world, and it's like, just but it's cool to have a a thing to be proud of at the end. I think that makes it
Yeah.
all worth it,
You
absolutely.
honestly, you just jump into it, and they offer a lot of places will offer to build it for you, for a cost.
Mhm.
And it's like, well, that kinda takes away from the
A little
experience,
bit,
doesn't
right? Yep. Yeah, I wanna feel that myself.
it?
I wanna get my hands
Listen,
dirty in it.
you don't get to take my accomplishment and then sell it to me.
You think I am a man without honor, Mr. Micro Center guy? Please, or Best
They
Buy
were
guy?
yeah, they were
Whatever.
cool. Micro Center was real cool.
No, yeah, they're really dope. If you went to the one did you go I wonder if we went to the same one.
We did go to the same one. It's the
We
only
went to the
one
same
in
one?
the area. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Heck yeah, man. All those guys in there were, like, super chill, super cool
Yeah,
guys.
they're all a bunch of nerds
Mhm.
that just make it their living to build computers and play games and run software. It's really cool. I was I get kinda shy when I have to, like, talk to customer service.
Yeah.
Um, but I was super comfortable just being, like, super honest. I was just like, "Hey, I have no idea what I'm doing. Um, you may or may not try to, like, upsell me, but I wanna build a PC."
Right, right. Gotta take that chance of they might
Yeah.
haggle you a little bit, but I'm sure they get a lot of people like that all the time, just first time buyers going
Yeah,
in there,
yeah,
but,
they it gives them a little chuckle, and I'm sure it gives them a little joy knowing that, people are starting to get more into it.
yeah, absolutely.
One of the guys was saying, like, 18 years ago was a completely different game,
Mhm.
building a PC because you didn't have YouTube to reference, you didn't have all these different guides.
Right.
You kinda just had to troubleshoot, trial and error, and just figure it out, so, it's really cool that they all most of those guys had that experience to share with us.
That is really cool, and their website is, like, beautiful too, like, Mallory and you, I think you did the same thing of just, like, being able to customize it on the website itself, put everything in your cart, and just go pick
Yeah.
it up when you get there. It's
Yep, exactly. You could save the
dope.
list, you could print it, you can share it through a link. Um, super, super intuitive. So, um, 5 stars.
5 stars. 5 stars
Yeah.
PCs, 5 stars Micro Center, 5 stars you, Dan. Good job,
Hey,
man.
thank you. It's the moisturizer.
It's the moisturizer, baby. Yeah, that was a nice little preamble. What do you say we get into, a break, and then we'll come back, and we'll do our usual shebang shabam, talk about games and stuff.
Let's get to it.
Ladies and gentlemen, days and thems, we are back, and I am super excited to dive back into my Zelda retrospective journey with you all and the moisturized Dan Hoy here. Dan, I have finished. I put the cap on Link's Awakening. I woke up the Windfish. I did everything I needed to do on Koholint Island. And I had a really, really good time. I think out of all the ones I've played so far, like in this little like journey, so the first like four or whatever,
Yeah.
uh, this would probably be my number one out of all of them.
This is your
I,
number 1
my number one. I
over
like
Link's, Link to the Past.
Over Link to the Past. Yeah, no, I I want to say it was a debate, but it wasn't really a debate. It was kind of just like I knew like as soon as I finished, I'm like, wow, I like this a lot more than Link to the
It's
Past.
yeah, it's a really endearing game.
Yeah, super endearing, super like sad towards the end too. I got kind
A
of like
little bit.
emotional a
It's,
little bit.
a little bit. When you put it into, like, the lore, like, the timeline, it's hard to place because it's like, did it happen?
Right, exactly. Like this whole like island is like a dream dreamt up by lights. I mean, spoilers for Link's Awakening, but it's everywhere and it's been up for a very long time. But this whole island that Link has been shipwrecked on is just a dream that is being dreamt up by this windfish. And then the objective at the end of the game, like your whole main objective is to wake up the windfish. And in each of the dungeons you go into, there are the main bosses are called nightmares, and they're just in different kind of forms. But they're your usual like Zelda bosses and stuff. And every time you defeat a nightmare, their dying words are something to the effect of, "You can't wake up the windfish, like, everything will disappear, like, you're what you're doing is wrong, you're gonna wake them up, and we're all gonna disappear." So it kinda makes you, like, think for a little bit, like, "Am I really doing the right thing by, waking this guy up?" And throughout the game, you're guided by this owl, and I guess that's like a trope in like Zelda games. I realize
Yeah,
there's always
I
like
think
an
that's where
owl.
it started.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the owl is like kind of guiding you along the way, like, letting you know what to do next and like, like physically like guiding you and stuff. But he's also like letting you know, like, hey, this is the right thing to do. Like, everyone here is part of the windfish's dream. So technically, like, you know, you're doing the right thing or something like that, just giving you the encouraging words. But like, I really felt like in the back of my mind going through this, like that hint of doubt, like, is this the right thing or not? Especially when you meet up with the main characters. So when you are shipwrecked, you're found by this girl. Her name is Marin, and then I'm not sure if it's her father or just kinda like her, like, caretaker or something, but, like, I'm assuming it's her father. Her father's name is Terran. So, Marin and Terran, uh, kinda take you into their house, and then, like, they take care of you and wake you up and stuff like that, and they're reoccurring characters, so you always come back to Marin after each dungeon, and she'll be doing something around, like, the village or the world, and Terran is kinda just like the goofball dad who he gets transformed into, like, a raccoon in the beginning, and you have to, like, save him or something, and they're it's really cute. It's a cute dynamic, and I realized that they're kinda reflected in Ocarina of Time as
Yeah,
right? Like, as
I was gonna say at the milk farm.
the milk farm. Yeah, I'm forgetting their names. I'm totally blanking.
Is it Malin? No, Talon?
Talon and Malon, I think? Talon
I
and
think that
Malon?
might be it.
Yeah, because I was playing Ocarina of Time now, and I realized that, like, they're basically the same thing,
Yep,
and there's an owl, so, like, I feel like these games had to have been made in, like, conjunction with another
for
or something
sure.
like that, for sure. But yeah, so you constantly go back to Marin. I'm gonna confuse it now. Marin and Terran. Um, and shout out Marin. I think Marin is, like, super cool. Like, she
Oh,
she
yeah.
made such an impact on me, especially towards the end of the game. Like, the ending of the remake in 2019, it's I'll get into it, I'll get it. It's so cute.
Sure.
It almost brought a tear to my eye. But yeah, the game was super fun. I think the dungeons were big enough, but also bite-sized enough. So they were just like the perfect, like,
Yeah.
length. The island was super, like, compact. I didn't really get lost. Everything was really well explained. And this kinda, like, started thi this game is where I could, like, get through a dungeon without really needing to look through a guide. I think in part because this was originally made for a Game Boy, so they had
Mhm.
to be, like, more simple. But it's also just very intuitive. Like, the powers you get make sense for the dungeons that they're in, and how you can use them around the world. Like, things are just kinda starting to become more explained. I did still have to use a guide for most part of it, especially the item trading quest like you were talking about, I think
Oh,
the last
yeah, I
episode.
love that quest.
Yeah, yeah, this game was so much fun. It was so delightful. The music was great. I know I said in the last episode I was gonna play both versions, but I ended up just playing the first 3 dungeons on the original version, so I got a little taste of, like, how the original is, and then I just finished my journey on the 2019 remake. And yeah, Dan, this was a great time. The remake is a beautiful remake. Couple, like, stuttering frame issues here and there, but I mean, it's a Switch game, so what can you really ask for?
Yeah, right.
It's a great remake, and the ending really made it all worth it. Like, when you wake up the Windfish, the whole island disappears, and then there's just like a cute little like moment where like Link, as the island disappears and Link is back on his like his little he's back in the ocean like hanging on to his log or something, and then you hear just Marin like singing again in the distance her little like tune, and then they show like a she like fades into the sky, so you see her for a second, and then she fades away, and then the windfish like flies on by, so it's like it's just
Incredible. It's
she
just they
kinda
tie it
exists out there, but kinda
they
not.
yeah. It's all tied up in a nice bow at the end, and that's it. Like, you
Mhm.
didn't need a sequel to that. You didn't need, like, a continuing story or anything. It's just a nice package.
A nice
Um,
package, yeah.
I think Link's Awakening was my first ever Zelda game.
Really?
Yeah, now that I think
Oh,
about it, I
I
think it
didn't
was
know
the
that.
first Zelda game I played.
Huh.
So this is, like, super nostalgic for me. I played it on the original Game Boy. Original Game Boy or Game Boy Color?
Mhm.
Well, I played the original, so this one was my first exposure to just the Zelda universe and all the mechanics of it all. I remember being stuck. I mean, I was a kid, but I remember being
Right, right.
stuck in that game
Mhm.
and just so not desperate, but I was yearning for the ending
Yeah.
because I was so invested in the story, the adventure, the items, I think it's instruments that
The
you
instruments you
earn.
find, yeah.
Yeah. Um, without really realizing that this was all just a dream.
Yeah. The usual trope, but I swear
Yeah.
it's nicely used in this one.
And I think it's such a neat package because I think it's the successor to Link to the Past,
Yeah, yeah, I think, like,
right?
canonically, this is the same Link.
Yeah, and they, like, knocked it out of the park because
Mhm.
for such I mean, we say this now, for such a limited handheld console,
Yeah.
they put everything into it,
Mhm.
to leave you just as excited as one might be for Link to the Past, right? The
Yeah,
music, the gameplay, the characters, um, and people started coming up with their own theories. What if Link was, unconscious and he was not hallucinating, but living in a different reality in
right.
his unconscious while he was concussed or something,
Mhm.
um, or there's so many other theories, but it it just ties in so well as the game after Link to the Past, and then even prior to Ocarina of Time, right?
Yeah.
We could say that now because we know what those games are like today, but
Mhm.
um, what an important game in this series.
Yeah, dude, super important. And you were saying before, like this game, like being on the Game Boy, but it still like shines just as bright as like Link to the Past or games prior and like
Yeah,
afterwards. It just shows that like the Nintendo magic of just being able to utilize their own hardware and being able to create magical, beautiful experiences with these like limited, very, very limited technologies. Like
right.
I know we say the Switch is like underpowered and like limited now, but like the Game Boy, even back then, like was like super, the smallest thing in the world and like working on like
Yeah,
a, I don't know, a one chip processor. I don't know if that's really
you had two buttons to push, right?
got 2
Like,
buttons, right? That is one little complaint I had for, like, the original one. You had to, like, switch you had to keep switching the items in and out, and, like,
yeah, I guess
you could,
tedious.
like yeah, a little tedious, but, the remake adds some great quality of life, features,
Yeah,
and, it expounds upon the music into, better not better music, but, more modern music, but the old soundtrack.
yeah.
And it's just it was a really great time, and I recommend it to anyone who hasn't played it before. I think it's definitely worth the money, and it makes its case for existing as a remake. Yeah, great time.
It and I think even after I mean, I played both. I played the original and the remake. I loved the remake.
Mhm.
It was so charming and it just popped,
Yeah.
And I think it's everything the Switch wanted it to be. And, they that kinda art style, I don't know how you would wanna call it, but, the
Like
3D art
walking
style
yeah, they're like
is
toys, right? Like, kinda like
yeah,
those
they're
little
like little dolls, right? And just
yeah,
running around like, I think that's the charm of it, and I think
absolutely.
the upcoming Zelda game, I forget what it's called, but where you play Zelda as
Mhm.
the
Oh,
protagonist.
Echoes of Wisdom.
Yes, yes, Echoes of Wisdom.
Mhm.
They've kinda adopted, the remake's art style to Echoes of Wisdom, similar to back in the day when you had cell shaded Link from Wind Waker to like Phantom Hourglass,
Mhm.
right? It's sort of that adoption for subsequent games and different generations. So it's really cool to see like that pair up.
Yeah, absolutely. They're Nintendo are masters at, like, taking their old assets, but making them into something entirely different in another game or expounding upon them and just using them in
Right.
different ways. It's really cool to see, even with, like, Breath of the Wild to Tears of the Kingdom, I know a lot of people say that Tears of the Kingdom just feels like glorified DLC of
Hmm.
Breath of the Wild, but to me, like, I think exploring the same Hyrule, but just in different perspectives and with different powers and all that. I think that's, like, really cool in and of itself. So it's a taste of the old, but also, like, bam, blast in your face, a taste of the new, you know? So it's
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
it's cool to see.
It's and they're listening to the players, you know, like people love it. Why change it?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, they know what they're doing at this
Oh
point in
yeah,
time. Absolutely. I don't
for
ever know,
sure.
like, what to ask of Nintendo, but I know they'll deliver it no matter what I'm asking.
They tell you what you want,
They tell
and then
me
you're
what
gonna
I want.
realize that you want it.
Exactly. So, I don't gotta stress about them. Everything's Gucci. But yeah, those are my final thoughts on Link's Awakening. It's definitely out of the 4, like, the first 4, yeah, it's definitely top of the list. Perfect bite-sized adventure. You don't have to overthink it. Play it, done with it. We're moving on to Ocarina of Time now, but I'll get into that once I finish it. I wanna finish
Yeah.
it, and then I'll bring him to the episode because I got a lot to say about Ocarina of
Oh,
Time.
for sure. That's gonna be like an entire episode because
Absolutely.
it's a revolutionary game. I'm curious to hear now that we're in 2024 if the gameplay has aged well.
Oh, Dan, I'll give you a little bit of spoiler. This
Yeah.
game is this game is so beautiful, and it is aged so well, but that's also thanks to many different ports throughout the years,
Sure.
but we'll get into it, we'll get into it.
Yeah.
We'll get through that door when we get through that door. But speaking of opening doors, Dan, I wanna talk about opening the door to Metroid Prime.
Oh, yes. Opening the door to Metroid Prime. You know, just walking up to it and letting it
Just
open for
walking
you.
up to the door and letting it open for you know what I'm saying? Taking it in. Tell me about Metroid Prime.
Metroid Prime was such a trip, a great trip, an amazing journey. And I'm so glad that I played this um, remaster.
Mhm.
It it just it feels like it's meant for the Switch.
Yeah.
It was a little clunky with the GameCube, especially with the trigger buttons. But for the Switch, it just felt natural that it was ported onto the console, and the graphics were great. It was smooth. It was fluid and intuitive. Towards the end, a little tedious. I think I mentioned last episode. I had to go back and find all the Chozo artifacts,
Okay.
and I didn't have the patience to search every nook and cranny and corner of that world. So
Right, of course, of course.
I did use a guide, but it was still a challenge because it's like it's not necessarily puzzle solving, but it's also like fighting different enemies and making sure you have enough ammo for breaking blocks and stuff. So
Of course.
it was great. It was a lot of fun. I fought Ridley, which took me a few tries. I didn't expect that.
Okay, cool, cool.
It was a good challenge. Towards the end, it's a gauntlet for the final boss, and man, it felt good to beat Metroid Prime. And I didn't get like the complete ending where I think traditionally when you unlock or discover a certain amount of things, you get to see Samus's face,
Right, right,
like
okay.
she takes off the helmet and stuff.
Mhm.
I didn't get that. I just got her flying away in her ship. So I I was still like I felt like a little kid again,
Oh, cool. That's
being
awesome to
able
hear.
to complete a game like Metroid Prime. But as an adult, I think I really appreciated it for what it was,
Mhm.
what it is. I I wish there was a Metroid Prime 2 port.
Yeah, yeah. I hear a lot of people,
I
like, talk about 2 and 3, how they want
Yeah,
it.
2 would like sort of give me that closure that I would
Yeah.
like because it was always a game that was on my to buy list. I just never got around to it.
Mhm.
And then 3 would just be a bonus. And then we got 4 coming out next year.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. But I really like Metroid games. I didn't really get that chance to play them as like a kid on the Super Nintendo.
Mhm.
But playing it as a teenager, a preteen, and then now as an adult, I wouldn't say I'm like a hardcore Metroidvania fan, but I can appreciate a lot of the different aspects of it. I mean, you and I have
Yeah.
talked about Hollow Knight.
Mhm.
Something called Silk Song. I don't know.
Oh, man.
Uh,
Not now, man, come on.
I, have played other Metroidvanias that kind of give me this similar feeling that I'm playing Super Metroid. So I think it's safe to say now that I am a fan of the genre.
Cool. That's dope to hear, man. The Metroid
Yeah,
definitely seems like one of those series that if you didn't play it as a kid, going back to and playing it as an adult, you can still appreciate maybe not like maybe you don't have the nostalgia for it, but you can
sure.
appreciate just how, like, good the gameplay is and how just, fluid and how, like, how appreciating the Metroidvania-ness of it all, I guess, is what I'm trying to say, like, and how well the systems, like, come together. Because
Yeah.
I also was not a I don't think I haven't played a single Metroid game, like, ever, but, like, hearing you
Mhm.
talk about them makes me wanna, like, go back and, like, really experience these things for sure.
I think it's time for a Metroid retrospective playthrough.
Oh, man. I don't know. Okay, wait. I don't know if I can, like, touch another NES game for, like, at least, like, 6 more months. So give me a little bit.
That's fine.
I'll join you on it, but, like, give me a little bit.
I think they remastered or remade one of the original NES games.
Oh,
I don't know
really?
if Samus 1 or Metroid 1 or Metroid 2,
Mhm.
but they re-released it with, better graphics and stuff like that,
Okay.
quality of life. So that may be an option, but let's get through Zelda first.
We'll get through Zelda first. We'll get through Zelda first, and then we'll talk about it. But that's really cool to hear, man. Like, Metroid Prime, they say, like, this is one of, like, the classics of the
Oh,
GameCube.
yeah.
Does it still feel that way after
Yeah,
finishing
yeah.
it?
I think you for me, when I hear GameCube, I hear, like, Super Smash Brothers, Super
Mhm.
Mario Sunshine. Metroid Prime is definitely in that list.
100%. It's, like, top 5 up there for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Because I think, especially as a preteen when I played it, I was like, "Oh, this is meant for, like, big kids, right? This is for mature players, right?"
I'm so cool for playing this,
Yeah,
man.
right.
Edgy.
And I gotta solve all these puzzles by myself. Yeah, it was definitely a different vibe, but, like, it was, um, one of the first person shooters
Mhm.
that I had played and really, like, um I don't know how to describe it, but it was like I had to learn the story from the ground up,
Yeah.
um, where I had never played a Metroid game before, Metroid Prime. I had to understand, like, she's a bounty hunter, she's by herself, there's no villagers to talk to, like you would in Mario Sunshine, right?
Right.
Um, so that was an experience, and I'm glad that it was able to I felt the same way now.
Oh, that's pretty dope. Do you
Yeah.
plan on going back and playing, like, have you played much Metroid Dread at all?
I have it. I think right after I beat Metroid Prime, I went into Metroid Dread.
Okay. Gotcha.
Um, there's something about being chased, like,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
unexpectedly that, does kind of freak me out. Like, it's not a fear, but I'm, like, on edge, which is the whole point.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm gonna take my time, learn to master the controls on that one, and then do a dive.
Dope, dope. I'm interested to see, like, your perspective on the 3D versus, like, the 2D
Yeah,
Metroids and how they stack
yeah.
up against each other.
I think just in terms of my experience, the 2D Metroidvanias, like, that has been pretty traditional, right?
Mhm.
And that's what makes it a Metroidvania, like having to go through different platforms and rooms and stuff. Um, like when I played Tales of Iron, like that was
Right,
a,
right.
a solid Metroidvania.
Mhm.
And that's part of the challenge of it all, just trying to understand the map and how, like, what's in what room and how they all connect. I I find it interesting with Metroid Prime that the map, it's a weird setup. It, like, spins weird, and then you have to, like, go
Mhm.
through different domains. But what was once 2D is now spread out into a 3D format, and so trying to understand what direction to go in based on
Right,
this
right.
little rinky-dink, not rinky-dink, but this complex map. That is like a skill to learn itself.
Definitely presents a new kinda, like, challenge rather
Yeah,
than just, like, a
yeah,
2D map that you understand up
exactly.
is up, down is down, and all that.
Hmm, hmm.
Got you. I think that's something that I think games, like, still struggle with sometimes, like, even back in, I think, what was it, 2019 when Fallen Order came out. I think that game has a lot of, like, Metroidvania qualities
Yep,
to it. I wouldn't
yep,
exactly call it one, but, like, it definitely has, like, qualities. And even the maps in that game were, like, notoriously, like, bad,
yeah.
especially especially on those first couple planets. Getting around was really hard for me. So it's definitely a skill to master or
Mhm.
something to learn, like you said. But it's really cool to hear. Man, I'm getting the itch to play Metroid Prime now. Uh, I really want to, man. It's one of those like you have to play before like you die or something like kind of games.
Yeah, no, I would say yes. It's one of those games that I put down for a long time though. Like I
Mhm.
would go back to play an hour or so, play 2 hours. I would get stuck, and it's hard to look up a guide because it kind of jumps around.
Right, right.
And, that's
Mhm.
the whole point of Metrovania, going back to previous locations. Now that you have different inventory, um, so keeping track and then trying to keep that momentum, I think, was also a challenge as I made progress.
Absolutely, man. Getting the itch, man. Getting the itch. Any final thoughts for good old Metroid Prime?
um, it aged very well. I'm so
Yeah,
happy that it did. This again, I think it was a perfect port onto the Switch. It's a beautiful game, and we need more Samus. Honestly,
absolutely. I'm writing it down on my like iPad's to playlist right now. I'm putting it at the top. Boom. There we go.
worth it.
Uh, Dan, what do you say we take a quick little break and then we'll come back with some more nerdy gaming stuff?
Yeah, I'm fine with nerdy and stuff.
Heck yeah. BRB. Babies and gentlemen, days and thems, we are back with some more nerdy video game stuff. And up next, I don't have a specific video game, but I have a piece of hardware here that I'm very, very excited to talk about because I bought it, God, a month and a half ago, and I didn't receive it till about a week ago. So
Hmm.
I had it on pre-order, and it finally came in the mail. I'm showing Dan on my screen right now, but we are an audio platform, so I will tell you what it is. This is a Odin 2 Mini made by the company Ayn, Ayn. I believe they're a Chinese-based company. And what the Odin is, there's the Odin 2 Mini, then there's like the Odin 2 Pro, and there's a bunch of like different like models of it. But this is like the latest model. They're Android handhelds. So this is basically just kind of like it looks like a PS Vita in design, but it's just
I was
running
gonna say,
Android on it.
yeah, it looked like a PS Vita.
That's what I love about it too. That's when I sent it to the Discord, like, months ago, I'm like, "This is bad because I know I'm gonna buy it," and then I did buy it and, hurt my wallet a little bit, but I'm a fiend for video game handhelds, and if it looks cool, I'm gonna buy it, and my wallet's gonna hate it later, but that's okay because 'cause we'll work it out. But it's really cool. It's a really powerful it has a really powerful chip in it. It's called a Snapdragon, I think it's Snapdragon 8 Gen 2. So you can emulate just about, like, anything you want that, an Android handheld can emulate. So you can run GameCube, PS2, there's some, like, light switch emulation if you wanna, like, delve into that
Yeah.
territory, but we don't talk about that because Nintendo be listening to us. But yeah, it's really cool. I got it only like a little over a week ago, so I'm still like working out some quirks and stuff. But damn, like I'm in love with this thing. Like
Oh yeah.
it can stream, like, your PS5 and Xbox and all that, if you can hook it up to
Whoa.
stream, like, Steam games through Moonlight from your PC if you'd want it
Yeah.
to, super dope design, like, it's super light, so I can one of the problem I love my Steam Deck, and I still use it, don't get me wrong, but one of the problems with that was, like, it was super uncomfortable to play in bed, so I can whip this thing out now, and this thing weighs like nothing, so just holding it in bed and holding it in your hands is just such an enjoyable experience,
Yeah.
and
It looks like it's like ergonomic. It fits very well.
oh, dude, so ergonomic. Literally, like, I think it might be, like, a centimeter or 2, like, longer than a PS Vita, but that's oh my god, it's so good. I'm a fiend for handhelds, baby, and I'm in love. I'm in love. What can I say?
It looks like it's pretty like premium stuff. Like you hold it up, it's pristine white.
Mhm,
It's got a glossy screen. It looks like there's some vents in the back,
got some
so
vents in the back.
you know it's working hard because it's got a vent.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I need to get some stickers for it, get some, like, Hello Kitty stickers or something. I don't know.
Awesome.
Make it look all cute and stuff. That'd be cool,
Yeah.
but, I'm playing what am I playing? I'm playing, like, so many things right now. I loaded it up with so many ROMs. I'm working through Sly Cooper 3. Uh,
Whoa.
yeah, it can handle that. I'm playing Jak 2 on it right now, Jak 2 or 3. Which one did I boot up first? I think Jak 2. So a lot of PS2. On this handheld is actually how I'm playing Ocarina of Time next for my Zelda retrospective. So, cool thing with that is there's a lot of Android ports of, like, older games, so people
Mhm.
put in a lot of work to take these, like so in the Ocarina of Time case, somebody took actually, I'll shout them out real quick. I think it's called the port is called Ship of, like, Harkonnen or something. I don't know if that's, like, the guy's name or whatever, but it's the Ship of Harkonnen port of Ocarina of Time, and what they did was, they basically took Ocarina of Time and, like, made it into, like, an Android-based game, so you can, like, up the resolution on it, you can, like, have save states and load states, so many other things, like, you can put gyroscope aiming on this thing, so when you have your bow, you can just move the handheld
No
around and,
way.
like, move it, yeah. A lot of, like, quality of life improvements from the 3DS port, but, like, just in the N64 version. I'm doing an awful job of explaining it, but it's it's really
Oh,
cool.
this is great. I mean, bottom line is that, people are amazing when you give them the creative tools,
Oh, dude, absolutely, like, the modders out there and just, like, the people who, like, take these older games and put love into them, or they're doing God's work, better than me. God bless them. God bless you all. I hope you all have fantastic dreams and full bellies for the rest of your life.
isn't
Amen.
that the goal, right? Ultimately.
Absolutely, absolutely. But Dan, this is it. No more handhelds. This
Yeah,
is this is
you say that.
I know I say it, but I can't, bro. I can't. I gotta buy a house one day. You know what I'm saying? But this really covers all the bases. I think for a while I was just looking for something that covered all the bases, and the Steam Deck got all the bases, but it was just a little too big to
Okay.
be like comfortable to hold for all the time or for long periods of time. But
Mhm.
I still use it. I do all my PC gaming on there, and I love my Steam Deck still. But I think this is just like such a great little compact, like, I can take this, like, anywhere. I'm gonna take it on, like, a bus or a plane ride and play it in public and not have weird stares. If I took the Steam Deck out to, like, a park or something, people would be like, "What's that, like, bomb you're holding in your hand?" or something. But this just looks like a PS Vita, so, I won't get no weird stares or something. But yeah, I'm very happy.
I think you have, like, a handheld for every mood,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, don't say that, man. Mallory's gonna yell at me. I got a problem. I got a problem. But that's that. I will be coming back every couple episodes here and there and let you know about my Odin 2 mini journey because I think this is kind of like my dream handheld in a way.
Yeah.
I was a big PS2 GameCube kid. I think that was like my favorite era of like games. So just having something small and compact that can handle those games is a dream come true for me, and for, like, 10-year-old Terry too. If you would've told him, like, back then that you could have a PS2 and GameCube in your pocket, I would've, like, peed my pants and then also other people's pants
I
at the same
would I
time.
would imagine, like, a giant PS2 in my pocket and a giant GameCube in my
Yeah,
pocket, like,
yeah.
just like giant sweatpants, right?
Shoot, that's what you mean, right? Like, just putting these babies in your pocket and in your giant Janko jeans or something like that?
Like, they're gonna upgrade on the jeans, but not on the consoles.
Absolutely. I would watch, like, videos back in the day, like, way, way long ago before, like, emulators and stuff like this were a thing, and it would be some guy like, "I made a handheld PS2," but it would be like he had to, like, cut off, like, parts of an actual PS2 and assemble it into this, like, giant brick of a handheld, which would be,
Yeah.
like, way bigger than a Steam Deck, but it worked. Um, and he would have, like, the disc running in it as well, so I'm like, it technically was a handheld like
It was
PS2, but
portable. Yeah.
it was portable for sure, but, it's gaming's so beautiful, man. We come so far.
So, so far, we could fit so much in just a tiny chip. It's incredible.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. But those are my thoughts. I didn't wanna speak too much on it. Like I said, I only had it for, like, a week and some change, but I
Yeah,
wanted to give my loving words and just how excited I am for video games, man?
it's I mean, it's your baby, right?
My
And it's a week
baby.
old, a little over a week old,
A
and
little over a week old, man. She
yeah,
barely talked,
character.
man. She barely
Yeah,
talked. Barely talked. She's so
sure.
precious.
Yeah, we're gonna go on a first train ride,
Mhm.
be
Mhm.
stuffed into a backpack at one point.
She hasn't even gotten her shots yet, so leave her alone.
Give
She's
it
sleeping.
time.
Give it time, give it time. Ah, man, thank goodness for handhelds. And Dan, thank goodness you are here. I wanna get into your next game.
I'm so happy I'm here.
And Dan, you know what? I didn't wanna tell you, I didn't tell you on the break, and I kinda, like, held it in so far. I also played Thank Goodness You're Here.
You played it!
I bought it
Okay.
yesterday,
Alright,
and
okay, so you played it.
I didn't finish it yet, so, maybe I don't know, like, halfway through. It's a short game, right?
It's a short game. I
Yes.
played only, like, a couple hours.
Beautiful. I haven't finished it yet, but, after you told me about it when we were discussing what to talk about for this episode, I'm like, "Ah, I gotta buy it. This game looks so great." But, but I didn't wanna step on your toes, so you go ahead. You tell me
Yeah,
what's up.
no, it was one of the games, like, I was browsing the Steam store, right? And I like to see, like, what game is trending, what game is a top seller these days. And I saw the game, Thank Goodness You're Here, and it was like a cartoony art style, and I was like, "What could this game possibly be about?"
Mhm.
And, um, I think one of the reviews was like, "This is the first game to make me laugh out loud." And I'm like, "How funny can this be?" I checked the trailer, and it's as if it's like Bob's Burgers in the UK. That's the
Yeah.
best what like, the absurdity of this game and how funny it is just at that level, and I really like Bob's Burgers, so this is, like, a compliment for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
Um, it it's just, like, it's silly. It's a lot of dumb, like, slapstick stuff, and I'm, like, chuckling and giggling to myself on the couch playing this game on my Steam Deck. Um, and I can't get enough of it because there's so much to miss,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
And yes, it's a small game. It's a short game, but there are so many nuances and little Easter eggs to laugh at. And I think
Mhm.
the funniest thing that they kind of tell you right off the bat, I'm going to look it up,
Yes.
is the game is based on an actual town in
Oh, is it
England.
really? Huh. I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
thank goodness you're here. Um, it's an absurd comedy slap former set in the bizarre northern English town of Barnsworth.
Barnsworth. That's definitely a
Um,
name.
I forgot where I read it. Barnsworth real? Um, there's no way of really finding that answer. I'm gonna say yes because it didn't give me what I wanted to read on Google.
Give me a Yahoo Answers, like, page real quick.
But you play as this this player, this person who's like 2 feet tall. And he's like a Simpson. He's all yellow, right? Doesn't say a word, and he's
Doesn't
just
say a
got this
single
stupid
word.
grin on his face. And your only actions are to jump or like slap. And so you go around slapping trash cans, doors, people to see what they have to say or to get their attention or to find some hidden secret.
Mhm.
I think the original intention was that this character needed to meet with the mayor and he's waiting in the office.
Right.
Um, he just walks out, and everyone in Barnsworth is having some type of conundrum.
Having the worst
Um,
day.
yeah, and it's absurd. One guy, has his arm right in the beginning. He has his arm stuck in a storm drain, right?
Mhm.
And he needs lube, and there's a butter factory down the down the road. It's just ridiculous, and it has no real logic to it. It doesn't have you do a whole lot of like thinking power. You just mash buttons, right? And you just laugh.
Yeah, super
That
simple,
is
so funny.
very, very simple, so funny. Voice acting is spectacular. I'm pretty sure it's just
Absolutely.
like 1 or 2, like, people doing the voices.
Yeah. And just, like, different tones and then different, like, awful, awful accents. I love in the beginning too, like, when you first boot up the game, it says something at you, and you're like, "Yeah," or you're like, I you can either say, like, "Yeah, I understood you," or, "No, could you say that again?" And
Oh,
then it,
yes,
like
yes.
if you pick, like, "I don't understand you," it, like, turns the subtitles on or something. It's something in, like, the most awful, like, British, like, text or
It's
something,
like
like, I
its own dialect. It's not something I've heard before, but it's thick, and it
it's
can be
super
hard to
thick.
understand.
Yes. Yeah. The game is so funny, like, the same as that reviewer that you saw, I laughed out loud so many times so far, and the comedy works so well in this video game. I think sometimes comedy can be, like, super hit or miss, and sometimes just, like, fine in games, but this is just, like, it's top tier. It's when you're my favorite part was when you fall down, like, the storm drain and, like, you're in the pipe or whatever, and, like, your head is, like, so big, so it's expanding the pipe, so you're just, like,
Oh, it
slowly, like,
was so
going through.
cartoony. Yeah.
So hard, and you're going through these pipes so slow, like, it's just so deliberate, like, everything about this game is so deliberate and so meticulously written out and thought through, and it just all comes together in this, like, perfect package, like, it's beautiful to look at, beautiful in, like, a gross, like, British way, but,
Right,
beautiful
right.
nonetheless. The colors are great, yeah, like, I'm glad you brought this game up to me because I'm enjoying it a whole
Yeah,
bunch.
I want everyone to know how great this game is. It wasn't a pricey game, and it's a short game, and
Mhm.
it makes you laugh. Like, what more could you want? I'm, like, looking forward to, like, the replayability of this game.
Oh, yeah.
Even though you might already know, like, what happens, it's nice to look at, and it's funny, and you catch on to more things.
Mhm.
Um, sometimes you just
And it's a
need
short one too,
it's a
so,
short one,
like,
yeah. You
not a
just
lot of
sometimes you need
investment.
those. Yeah, it's
Absolutely.
something, in between a lot of the more complex and serious games. Something to lighten the mood, to decompress with, that's the one to play.
Yeah, absolutely. It's published by the same publisher as Untitled Goose Game, and it really shows.
Yeah, that's
Really, really
that's the
shows.
familiarity. That's I
Mhm.
was trying to, like, put my finger on it, like, this is like a game I've played before.
Yeah, man.
And that's probably the best way to describe it. It's like, instead of being a goose, you're just this voiceless little two-foot man.
Yeah. Something about being a small mammal in a British countryside and only having 2 actions available to you, either slapping or honking.
Man, if they ever added, like, a co-op mode to, Thank Goodness You're Here,
Ah,
that
that'd be
would be
great.
such a good time, especially if it had, like, online capabilities, just playing with
Yeah.
a stranger. That'd be
I could
so
see it
fun.
too because I think they added co-op mode down the line for Untitled Goose Game, so I
Yeah,
I
they
I
did.
could see it for this one.
That would be great. I would love to play that with everybody.
Yeah. Ah, that was a fun time. No, like Dan said, it's super not expensive. I think it's on sale on Steam right now for, like, 16.99, $17, something like that, so super worth it. My god, I'm having a great time.
Yeah, give it a go. Support the developer. I want more funny games, so
Yes, please.
encourage this, please.
Please, please. Dan, what do you say we take a quick little break and we'll come back for our last couple of, video games here?
Yeah, let's do it.
Boom. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back better than ever, more moisturized than before because I am sweating. Well, I don't have my AC on.
Glistening.
Glistening. Uh, Dan, I rented a game from my local library. First off, they have, like, a great game
Isn't
selection.
that cool? Yeah.
So cool, man, so
Support your
cool. Shout out
libraries.
Go to your library, get a library card, support the library. I rented Ratchet& and Clank Rift Apart. Um, I'm a not I wouldn't say I'm a huge Ratchet& and Clank fan, but back on the PS2, I played, like, the ones that were on there. The first one, Going Commando, and Up Your Arsenal, I believe, were the ones that were on there. So, I played the classics. I
Mhm.
missed out on the PS3 era because I didn't have a PS3. Then I played the remake on 4 PS4 for a little bit, the remake of the first one, and then I never got into Ratchet& and Clank Rift Apart when it came out. There are just probably so many games coming out, it just kinda, like, fell on the wayside, so when I saw this at the library, I'm like, "What a what a better time than to get into this than now," and
Yeah.
it's a beautiful game, like, this game is it's just it's they take the known Ratchet and Clank formula, and they just modernize it to where it feels like this feels like how you think those old games felt back then, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's so fluid, the the characters are so zany, the gunplay feels great, and then they modernize it so well, like, you're able to, like, aim down sights now, you weren't able to do that in, like, the PS2 games, I believe. There's, like, a sprint button, you can, like, actually, like, sprint now. There's
So
a
good.
dot so good. There's a dodge mechanic, which is, like, new, and I'm, like, having to get used to because 'cause I'm not used to, like, a dodge mechanic in Ratchet& and Clank games. And yeah, like, it's fluid, and it's beautiful. The lighting effects, like, Insomniac, they're just God, man, they're masters at
You're
their
so
craft.
good, right?
So, so good. So, so good. Um, I'm very early on, so maybe not too many thoughts on this, but just wanted to give it its glowing, like, praise that this is just classic Ratchet and Clank, like, just a Ratchet and Clank adventure, and I really missed if you were a fan of, like, those games back then, like, please,
Mhm.
please, please give this one a try because it really is just taking those old ones and making them prettier, I miss these games, and it's just a simple, fun, wacky adventure so far. It's not taking itself too seriously, Doctor Nefarious is the big bad villain, and he's just like a goofball in and of himself, and yeah, I'm having a great time, having a great time.
It sounds like it's a pretty low key good time, you know? You're not having to work too hard. It's very familiar. They took what worked
Absolutely.
and made it more modern. Um, I don't know much about Rift Apart. I played, I think, the remake that was released before that.
Mhm.
I played that on my PS5 when it was like it was on PS Now or something. Um, I'm not too familiar with Ratchet and Clank as their characters, their story and stuff.
Yeah.
But I have to agree with you. I really miss 3D mascot platformers basically.
Yeah, absolutely.
Those were like yes, they had the same formula, but those like they were just so engaging for me. I just like the silliness, the wackiness of it all.
Absolutely, just not taking yourself too seriously.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
yeah, the Ratchet& and Clank, Sly Cooper, Jak and Daxter, like, those were my bread and butter back
Right.
then, if they could remake the other 2, like Sly and Jak, like, give that the same, like, treatment, I'd be in my glory, like, I wouldn't play any other game ever, but yeah,
Absolutely.
like you said, I miss that time period, I miss that,
Right.
like, sense of that genre, if you wanna call it a genre.
Yeah, and it's too bad that that genre did slow down.
Mm,
Um Because I think when we see games like Astro's Playroom, right,
yeah.
for PS5, and how much people loved it, so much that there's a sequel coming out, right?
Yeah, dude, right? Isn't that crazy?
That's so telling that the charm didn't really lose its spark, right?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and I think not that long ago we talked about how there are different genres for like different generations of gaming, right? Like which ones dominated the market at the time, be it open world or JRPG or fighting or
Mhm.
whatever, right? Um, I don't I don't think we're done with the mascot 3D platformers yet.
I hope not.
Yeah, I think it's gonna make a slow and steady comeback as like I said, we see with Astro's Playroom. Um, because in one way or another, we're a lot of games are 3D mascot platformers, right? Um, I think the one that comes to mind in an unconventional way is
Okay.
Fall Guys.
Yeah, yeah. I can
Like,
see it.
l it's just a competitive one, right?
Right, right, of course.
Um, but the zaniness of it all is what catches people's eyes.
Absolutely, and in this day and age, like, so many genres kinda just, like, blend together with one another, so it's really hard to, like, put things in, like, certain boxes and stuff like that, but I do agree with you, like, the mascot platformer-ness of it all never really goes away, and like you were saying with Astro's, like, Playroom being, like, such a great example, like, I think Astro is, like, carrying the torch for not only, like, the 3D platformers, but, like, the, like, early PlayStation-ness of it all, the Little Big Planets,
Yep. Yep.
the when, when PlayStation was taking creative risks, and just, like, not throwing things in a wall and seeing what sticks, but just kinda, like the PS3 was a generation of, like, just a creative spark that I don't think PlayStation really, like, has anymore. Not saying I don't like what they have now, like, I love,
Mhm.
like, kinda like the big cinematic stuff as well, but I do kinda miss, like, the just the little big planetness of it all, like, the
Yeah.
wacky little, like just these little, like, guys and the fun music and the funness of it all, I think,
The funness, yeah, like, you didn't find yourself having to, like, analyze the plot, right?
Exactly,
It's
exactly.
just it is what it is, right?
Mhm.
Um, I think of, like, what I said about the generations and genres, like, I think PS3 was a big Assassin's Creed era
Mhm.
or Assassin's Creed-like games.
Right, get into, like,
Right.
the big open world
Yeah,
action kinda, like,
stealth.
stuff.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, and it really started to take off there. Um, and I know they, like, cater to, like, their players, and as they age, the games kinda age in maturity as well.
sure.
Um, but now we just wanna be kids again.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. I think dude, my god, you hit the nail on the head. I think I love the big cinematic stuff PlayStation's doing now, but I think they're veering away from, like, bringing in that, like, child audience because like, you give a kid, like, a PlayStation, they're not gonna wanna I mean, maybe they will, but in my mind, they're not gonna wanna play God of War Ragnarok or,
Right.
like, the Last of Us 2, but, you give them a Switch, they'll play, like, the new Mario, they'll play, like,
Yeah.
the Kirby and stuff like that. I think I love again, for, like, the 5th time, I love the big cinematic stuff, but I think there is still room for these smaller, Astro Bots and Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. Not saying Rift Apart's small, I'm sure it's very expensive still.
Mm,
But, there are room for these mid-sized and small-sized adventures, like, still. I hope, the big publishers, realize that going forward.
right, right. Especially if it's indie, I would love to see,
Oh, dude, yeah.
like, an indie developer, try their hand at making these mascot platformers because I think that would be worth the effort, and it would be so unique because I don't think an indie developer is gonna wanna, recreate a game that's been tried many times before. They're going to try to make their own spin on it, and I think that's going to be very valuable.
Absolutely, man. I have total faith in the indie space. Like, eventually, they'll create something that'll, like, be reminiscent of, what we're wanting, and just like we said with the Nintendo before, they'll tell us what we want, and then we'll be like, "Alright, cool. Sounds great."
I really appreciate the indie world because a developer comes out and says, "This is my vision. This is what I see, and this is a piece of me. Like I
Mhm.
poured everything into it." Um, and when it's received well, like I just feel like the value and the gratification of that is so much higher than when um, Nintendo publishes something like that Peach game.
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
forget what it's called, but
Princess
great.
Peach, Showtime or something like that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm sure that's great, right?
Yeah.
But it just seems like it was at a point where they were just pumping out Mario games, you know?
Yeah, you gotta put something out for the quarterly review and get
Right,
the
right.
those numbers up. Yeah, seeing those passion projects and seeing, like, some guy posting on Reddit, "Hey, I've been working on this one game for the past, like, 6 years, here it
Oh, I love
is."
that.
Like,
Yeah, I love when they do that.
it's so beautiful to see, like, games are just not hard, they're not easy to make, so, like, just putting that much time and effort and, I want every indie developer in the world to, like, get good rest and have full bellies, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. That's a theme that we're gonna run with today.
Absolutely, but yeah, man, running it back a little bit, Ratchet& and Clank Rift Apart, if you haven't played it, Dan, I think you would enjoy it
Yeah,
immensely.
for
Um,
sure.
for sure, for sure. It's beautiful. It's just pure fun, just pure turn your not turn your brain off and have fun, but, like, you gotta be engaged a little bit, but
Sure.
the point still kinda, like, stands, like, you don't need to be as, like, tuned in and stuff
Mhm.
like that. It's just wacky, silly,
What's
and
not to
fun.
like about that, right? I mean, especially in my experience, I think about, like, a lot of the games besides Thank Goodness You're Here, which I just talked about. A lot of games that I've, like, put so much brain power towards to, like, try
Mhm.
to figure out or even master. Like, I it could be pretty exhausting, right? You hit, like, a wall, like, a fatigue where it's like, I can't muster up a lot of the energy to do more thinking for this next game, right? Which would
Right.
probably be Final Fantasy 16.
I
Um
thought you were about to dunk on Balatro again for a second.
No. But I can't. I but anyway, to have a game to, just, again, appreciate for what it is, have some fun, and not think too hard about, that's what it was all that was the purpose, like, when I first started playing games, right?
Yeah.
To be able to just veg out a little bit and recharge that way.
That's a great way to put it too. Like, we all start playing video games to have fun.
Yeah.
Video games are entertainment. They're glorified like toys. Like I think sometimes it's great to have the big storytelling, moving
Mhm.
experiences, but what it all whittles down to at the end of the day is you're playing to have fun. You're
Right.
playing to just like escape and have a
Yeah.
good time. So,
I think more recently I've come to, like, kind of a paralysis, like, what do I play?
mhm.
It's not gonna be too taxing, right? And I don't want to add another hour to my, like, FIFA play because that's at, like, 170 or something like that. I'm like, it's just adding up, and I don't really feel anything out of it anymore. So,
Yeah,
it, sometimes it's hard to find just the little brief pause, where I could just play, and have fun. Thank goodness you're here. Very refreshing.
absolutely.
Thankfully, that's come along. So, looking forward to finding more things like that, like Ratchet and Clank, and trying to get my mojo back.
Absolutely, man. I think
Right.
the smaller experiences come in handy too when you feel like that paralysis, 'cause I definitely feel that a lot too. So,
Hmm.
Link's Awakening was a good time filler to put in there. Thank goodness you're here is a great little small experience, and I love me a small experience. They're magical, absolutely wizardous. Uh, and speaking of magical, and
Man,
speaking of wizardness, I'm doing great with the
your
transitions today.
transitions, yeah, has been on point today.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Dan, your next game you have for us here on this little podcast of ours. You played Hogwarts Legacy.
Yeah, I kind of hinted at it earlier in the episode where I said
Mhm.
Diagon Alley,
Uh-huh.
broomsticks, Harry Potter. um,
Uh-huh.
but I'm making some good progress in Hogwarts Legacy. It has been a trip. It is very unique, and
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
starting to get the flow of the magic.
Total
It
opposite of a small experience.
Yeah, and talk about, like, a complicated map.
Oh, yeah.
Right now I can't really figure out the map, and there's, like, you use a flu powder to, like, go here and there, but, like, you could also use the book to guide you and,
Mhm.
show you your path, but, like, it's a big game. It's
Dude,
pretty
the
complex.
castle itself, like Hogwarts itself is
Yeah,
massive, let alone,
right.
like, outside of it.
Exactly. It's beautiful.
Oh,
The
dude, gorgeous.
it's so nice to look at, but it's a long tutorial, I'm coming to find, right?
Mhm.
Um And I think it's unique in that it's not like a God of War where, it's like, I don't know if concrete's the right word, but you're using like a weapon, like it's a fight, right? It's pretty
Yeah.
clear that that's his method of solving problems.
Right, right.
Um, but here it's a mix between, like, I don't know if life sim is the best way to say it, but like a social game, you're getting to know your school and your classmates, but also, like, you're starting to go into dark territory here where, you're blasting you're blasted some,
Right.
like, gnomes in the field with your wand, right?
Yeah.
Um It's really cool if you're a Harry Potter fan, you know, kind of like the background and the lore of it all. Um, it's not, it doesn't occur at the same time as the Harry Potter storyline. It occurs well before that, but
Mhm.
to see like a character that I made go through, you know, the different trials and tribulations of Hogwarts is really cool. Um, Something about using magic to fight doesn't feel as like substantial.
Doesn't feel as, like, impact when you yeah, I get what you're
Yeah,
saying, like, the
right, right.
impact kinda isn't there a little bit.
Exactly. Sometimes when I'm using the wand, it seems like I'm just like firing like slingshots, like you know,
Yeah.
putting like acorns in a slingshot.
It's a glorified gun.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, but like I don't know, I feel like that could have been fleshed out a little better. But it's starting to become like it's starting to release the reins, so that way I could be a little bit more independent and decide what I want to do next. I'm figuring out like different spells and stuff, and I'm looking forward to the story progressing. Um, but I think it's a pretty nice feat of a game, and the fact that they made like a quality Harry Potter universe
Yeah.
game is an accomplishment itself. So, did you ever play like the old Harry Potter games on like PS1 or
Oh,
PS2?
did I ever play them? There Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets for PlayStation 1, me and my cousin played, like, the boots off that game, and I remember distinctly, like, you start off it's awful, like, PS1 wobbly graphics.
Yep.
You start off at, like, Ron Weasley's, like, mom's house, or whatever, their house, and you gotta do, like, the whole, like, tutorial there, and, like, yes, I played the older,
That's
like
awesome.
crappy games, but they were like a big part of my childhood for sure, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I've never played them, but I know of them. I know the
Mhm.
Hagrid meme, right? Where
Yes, yes.
it's like a little clanky polygon of Hagrid. Um, but I'm so impressed. It hasn't fully like I haven't been like fully engaged with it yet.
Mhm.
Like I've said before, it's one of those games where I feel like I have to muster up a lot of brain energy to really
Yeah.
enjoy a playthrough.
You gotta put yourself like it's gotta be a little bit of an experience, like, sit down and
Yeah.
enjoy this game. Have you made it to, Hogsmeade yet? Like, Hogsmeade, the town?
Um, yes, for the first time, right?
Okay.
Where I have to
Yeah, yeah.
go and like, yeah, do all that. Um, I I did that. I did some other side quests. I don't know how I'm supposed to find these marbles
Oh,
for
yeah,
this
marbles.
student. I don't know like what she's thinking. I turned arachnophobia mode on and I really appreciate it.
Good, good. I'm happy.
They're less intimidating and you could see them like hiding in the tall weeds.
Good.
Which is funny because we're still going on this like spider theme here, right? First was like Lies of P,
I
and there's another game that had a spider. Um, that one was a tough one. I don't remember the game. I just remember it was a tough one.
Mhm.
There's spiders in this, and then I started just very briefly Shadow of War,
Yeah.
and the main villain
Oh, yeah.
comes down a giant pillar as an enormous spider. So
Ah.
something about that is like just following me around.
Oh, yeah, the games that you just have, like, the worst fears of just happen to make your, like, list, like, all the time, man.
Yeah, I it's that, it's fourth wall breaks. I can't man, I can't keep up.
Just wait till you get to the living doll section of, of Hogwarts Legacy. That'll be great.
speaking of speaking of living dolls,
Oh, no.
I got Resident Evil Village on sale,
Oh.
and I didn't know one of the villains
Oh,
uses the doll. I haven't gotten there yet. I'm bracing myself. Um,
God bless you, man.
yeah, I am a sucker for good horror games. I do it to myself.
You
It's
do it to yourself.
self-sabotage, honestly.
You're stronger than me, man. A horror movie I could sit down and watch all day, but something about, like, horror
Yeah.
games, it's too involved for me,
It's the
man.
opposite for me. Yeah, I can't do a horror movie. I could do the game.
So crazy. I remember it's a total, like, tangent, but again, like, you were there, but when we were playing, like, Bloodborne together, I was, like,
Oh, yeah.
crying every second, man. I was so scared of everything, but I don't know what it was, like, Elden Ring, I was fine, and that game has creepy moments too, but Bloodborne just has that different atmosphere for sure.
Elden Ring had the worst spiders.
Elden Ring had worse spiders. The hand
Yeah,
spiders were
they're the
definitely
hand
worse.
spiders, which were like, I didn't know I had that fear, but that's
Until you
100 times worse.
absolutely.
And, like, Bloodborne's spider, like, that was fine. Rom was fine. Like, for
Right.
some reason, being surrounded by a lot of baby spiders and finding one giant spider was no issue. But
Gotta talk to your therapist about that one, like,
yeah, well,
what's the difference in this?
I'll work on that one.
But, yeah, dude, Hogwarts Legacy, I think I played through it. Mallory played through, like, most of it, like, she's really close
Mhm.
to the end. I played through maybe, like, halfway.
Okay.
I really enjoyed just, like, the world itself was beautiful, like we already said. I think this game is definitely, like, a Harry Potter fan's, like, dream, just being
Yeah.
able to, like, go in there and, like, really experience these things. I think like, personally, I think the game is trying to check too many boxes, and on what it wants to be. So like you were saying, the combat sometimes can kinda just feel like you're just continuously, like, firing these bolts, and, like, something about being a Harry in the Harry like, in the Harry Potter world, and being a student at Hogwarts, but still going out and about and, like, basically killing people, so it doesn't, like, kinda, like, sit right in my head, but,
Yeah.
suspension of belief or whatever, I get it, but that it sits a little weird with me,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
a good ways into the game, like, you're still getting tutorials for, like, a lot of things, like, so you'll I'm halfway through well, I was about halfway through it, and then, like, there are new systems that will still be, like, introduced to you that you'll need, like, a
Mm.
whole, like, in tutorial on and stuff like that, so it's throwing a lot of things at you, but if you're a Harry Potter fan, I think, you know, you'll love, like, all those systems and all
Yeah.
these things, and again, the world is absolutely gorgeous, like, the clothing is so cool, like, the
Incredible.
physics on the fabric and the
Yeah.
robes,
Yeah.
so good, man, like, this
Fashion
game
is very important in this game.
fashion is
I found some really cool clothing, so
absolutely, dude, like, it looks I if games are based on that just in general, like, it's a 10 out of 10, but, there are some weird things about it, and I don't entirely love it. I think it's a fine RPG, in and of itself, but I think it's a great Harry Potter game. Absolutely.
yeah, I could see some Harry Potter fans, it's like hit or miss because, I think there'll be some, like, loyalists who wanna stick very strict to, like, the universe and its rigid guidelines.
Yeah.
Um, and there are people who are just, like, there for the ride and just, really just so excited to see a video game, in the Harry Potter universe. Um, but something about, like, coming into Hogwarts as a 5th year inexplicably is kinda
Yeah.
weird,
Mhm.
like, uncomfortable. Now, you just let this new kid hop on 5th year,
Yeah,
uh,
right, right.
shooting different spells off in the field, right?
Yeah.
And then turns out, light spoilers, turns out there's been other students who've been admitted as 5th years before.
Mhm.
So it's like a regular thing. Well, where did that come from?
Right.
I think it was a weird way to justify that your character can use spells,
Mhm.
outside of, the classroom. So I don't know. I think that could have been done differently. But nonetheless, when you just look at, like, the broad strokes of this game, it's quite the achievement.
Yeah, quite the achievement. I think some people going back on it a little bit, I know we were wrapping up our thoughts, but I think some people, like, wanted, I think me included a little bit, wanted more of a life sim element from it, so, like,
Mhm.
the going to classes in Hogwarts Legacy kinda feel more like missions and, like, the start of missions than
Right.
actually, like, going to class and, like, doing your, like, day-to-day stuff and like that, so I wonder what the sequel to something like this will be because this game, like, sold gangbusters when it came out, so there definitely has to be a sequel.
Yeah, it's still like a top contender, especially for PC, where I'm sure there are tons of modders working on it, but like
Oh,
it's
absolutely.
a pretty game. So it's almost like a benchmark for some PC builder prospects,
Mhm.
trying to
Absolutely.
keep up with it. Um, If only it had like the life sim of a Persona game. Oh man, that would be top
That'd be
notch.
great. Wouldn't that be
Yeah,
fantastic?
I
I
would.
think that
That
appeals to, like,
would
us
be
nerds and not probably not the general video game audience, right?
mine. Yeah, they're going for, a wide range of people and players here. So I get that. You want to appeal
Absolutely.
to everybody. Um, but just just gonna throw that into the universe out there. If it had like that, like the life sim of Persona, that would be okay.
That'd be good. That'd be good, throw it in there a little bit, give it a little taste test and see what's up. Absolutely. Any final thoughts on Hogwarts Legacy, Dan, before we wrap up our little episode here?
Um, Last thoughts. It's a good game. I'm enjoying it. Looking to make some more progress. Um, but I think as I take a step back and not focus too much on the details, I could really take in the scenery and the environment of it all. It's again, we have come such a long ways with video games, and graphics are one thing, but building a world, building an
Mhm.
atmosphere is another, right?
Yeah.
Um, and Hogwarts Legacy definitely got that right.
Absolutely, like, just being entrenched in this world, the atmosphere,
Hmm.
like you said, the graphics are one thing, but the video games are so much more than just the graphics these days, the music, the storytelling, how the game progresses, like, it's all one complete package and how much it can just, like, suck you into that world and, like, command your attention,
Exactly. It's
it's
gonna
just
be it's gonna be checking the boxes.
heck yeah, man. Well, I'm very excited to see how those boxes get checked.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it.
Heck yeah, man. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that has been another episode of our very moisturized Double Kick podcast. Give us a follow on Instagram if you want to keep up with our nonsense. Just keep coming around. We have fun doing this. Well, I have fun doing this. I can't speak for Dan too
Yeah,
much.
it's all right. I guess
It's
I can
fine.
keep doing this. It's fine.
Yeah, yeah, it's fine every now and then. Whatever, I guess.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to be here.
Happy to be here. Thank goodness you're here, man. Thank goodness you're listening, babies and gentlemen. I hope you have a great rest of your day, night, afternoon, evening. And stay alive, stay healthy. Yeah, and that's it. Goodbye.
See ya.